Guys, if you're over 30, you're gonna want to hear this. Every year after puberty, HGH, human growth hormone, the hormone responsible for workout recovery, performance, metabolism, and even libido, starts to decline, sometimes by 50% by age 35. Doesn't matter who you are, how hard you train, or how good you eat, it just happens because we get old. That's where BioPro Plus comes in. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind non-synthetic alternative to prescription HGH growth hormone treatments. All the benefits of synthetic HGH without any of the needles, side effects, doctor visits. Best part of BioPro Plus, it works fast. It's easy to use and 100% safe. It's been trusted by physicians since 2009, and its benefits can be felt in just days instead of months. Guys who use BioPro Plus have experienced faster workout recovery, enhanced performance, metabolism, sexual function, and even better mood and energy. Want to fix the way you perform, look, and feel without all the risk of big pharma synthetic stuff? BioPro Plus. Click on the link in our bio show notes to learn more. I tried BioPro Plus myself and I love it. If you put your body through the ringer like I have, then I think you're gonna love it too. Now, that's what I'm paid to say. Here's what actually happened. These two little white boxes show up in the mail. One that has ampules in it that you take first thing in the morning, and one that has ampules that you take at the end of the day. Within 12 days, because you're taking one ampule in the morning, one ampule at night, and by day 12, I went into the gym, and I'm not kidding you, everything was lighter. My pull-ups, I already could knock out 20. I'm a year away from being 50 years old. I do sets of 20. But this was the first time in a while where I can get up there and knock out sets of 20 plus. Now you add in weights, right? Bench press, squat, deadlift, all your big basics. Everything was significantly lighter. I also noticed that I was getting more done during the day. My mood was probably better, but because I'm antisocial, there's no one around me to tell me that I was in a good mood. But I felt like I was in a good mood. Anyway, BioPro Plus, it works. And then when I got off of it, because I did test, okay, let's see what happens when I get off. Things I noticed when I was off is that my joints went back to kind of achiness that I didn't notice before, especially in my shoulders and my knees, which have injuries. So that achiness kind of came back. So of course, I immediately got back on it and continued the journey and will continue the journey. So make sure you check out BioPro Plus. Check them out. Click on the link in our bio show notes to learn more. Hey everyone, I hope everyone's doing well, staying safe out there. Just want to cover a couple of things. We got the Ready Room over there at ClintEmerson.com. Gives you skill videos, community, all kinds of talking head moments with me, exclusive content, making you a little more safe and secure, increasing your survivability. And that's it. That's the only housekeeping I've got. So today we have a former Green Beret, a Special Forces medic, a Special Forces weapons sergeant, and author. John Brewer, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Good you're here. How long you been out?
Well, actually, just recently I got out of the Guard, but from active duty, it's been since 2020.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, recent compared to me. I retired in like 2015, 16. Yeah. It's been a while. It goes by fast, does it not?
Oh, it does. No, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
And actually, the years got to blend together after you don't really have any milestones to really gauge how time passes. So I always get confused with the years and dates now. It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I never actually put it together. There's no milestones. I just figured everything was blurry for me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
we're just floating through life now.
Yeah. Well, hey, good to have you on the show. And as usual, we're going to start off with the rapid fire. So are you ready?
I am.
All right, here we go. DA or FID?
I'd have to go FID.
FID. Wow. All right. Okay. Both of these are in slow motion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Slow motion. Your testicle in a vise, okay, as it cranks down, or a pencil in the eye? Slow motion.
Pencil in the eye.
Fast rope or rappel?
I'd say fast rope, but it's close.
Fast rope, yes. Wound or kill?
Wound.
Wound. Ask for forgiveness or ask for permission?
Ask for forgiveness always.
Be the sniper or be the tank?
Be the sniper.
Yeah. Okay. These choices are the 4-year-old version of you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here we go. Play with your poop or poop on a friend?
Poop on a friend. Man. Yeah, I don't think in any age I want to play with my poop, but yeah, poop on a friend.
Poop on a friend he chooses. Okay. Hump it in or jump it in?
Well, I got to say that I never got to the Halo, so and I don't like airborne operations, so we'll say hump it in, even though that's not fun either. Just something more familiar.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Enlisted or officer?
Enlisted.
Yeah, the enlisted guys are always better. Danger close or avoid danger? It's 2 ways of looking at that. That's a tough one.
It is close. I would say avoid danger.
Avoid
well,
danger.
especially for the topic of the show.
Yeah, exactly. All right, going back to the top. Good job. DA versus Fed. I put this in here really to open up, like, what are those? And I think a lot of people, when it comes to the differences between all the different special operation units, you know, FID stands out because of the history of the Green Berets, and you picked FID. So educate us on it.
Yeah. So, and you know, let it be known that I'm not an expert by any means, and that you know, the definition has been blurred over time, and I think even now it's not exactly what it should be in real time. But I mean, essentially, it's making sure whatever stable government that we support stays that way, and that can look in a variety of different ways. Hopefully, most of the part is diplomatic, so diplomatic relations and just making sure they have the ability to support themselves as a country and then also defend themselves as a country. And then, but lately, obviously, with terrorism and things like that, you know, terrorism tries to create that instability. And so you really, you know, so FID then branches off to a multitude of different things. And some of that is DA and, you know, a lot of other type of mission sets. But for the most part, it's just making sure that, you know, the governments that the U.S. agrees with stays stable and is able to operate, you know, within their boundaries and don't have anything kind of, you know, messing with their shit, sort of speak.
Yeah, and I always get it. It's foreign what again? I forget.
Internal defense.
That's right. Foreign internal defense. There you go, people. And yeah, so what I know, we don't, you know, SEALs, we sometimes get thrown into it, but we're not trained for it, which is always a bad idea. And you know, we end up usually screwing it up. Because
well, what it's turned into lately is basic training, which is a part of it, but that's you know, a lot of times when even now, which, you know, now they have the I'm going to forget what their unit is called, but they're supposed to be handing over the training aspect of FID to where they go in and they're making sure that you know, they're training their military forces up to a certain standard, whatever that looks like. But that's what FID has turned into for the most part, you know, based off you know, politics and things of that nature. But you know, it's a little bit more than just putting soldiers in another country through basic training. It's you know, obviously it could be, like I said, a multitude of things.
Yeah. In simplest form for listeners that don't know, you know, this foreign internal, you're going to, you know, an ally, ideally, and you're training their forces and making them better. And a lot of times in the Green Berets, like you, they get the, you know, language training and they get the education that supports it so that they can go in there and represent the United States politically correctly, really. And
Mhm.
did you go to language schools and all that as well?
Yeah, well, just the normal language school that we go to. So I was, I got Arabic. So I was, and then that eventually that sent me to fifth group. So yeah, I did. And now, I mean, it's still at the end of the course, and everybody has to go through it. But when they thought that World War III was going to pop off for a second, they were even thinking that maybe Green Berets didn't need that, and they were going to, just send guys overseas or graduate them from the course without language. But that's all been corrected, and everything's kind of cooled down from there. But yeah, language is standard when it comes to the Q course.
Yeah. And then how long is your Arabic? How long is that training?
The school,
Yeah.
6 months.
6
Yeah.
months.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I think everything's 6 months because they want to standardize it. But I think at one point in time, Spanish and French were a little bit shorter. But I think they
Yeah.
just made it 6 months just to keep everybody together.
Yeah. Keep the calendars aligned.
Yeah.
And then Q course itself, and for those that don't know, give the dummies version of what Q course is.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Q course for dummies version is, it's just pretty much the training course for Green Berets, just like basic training is for new recruits for the military, or yeah, for the military. And then the Q course is just whatever the standard is across the board. That's what's instructed, and then that's kind of like the baseline for a Green Beret to know the fundamentals, and then when they get to the team, there's stuff added on to. But the Q course itself is about a year long, and then also for medics it's a little longer because their courses within itself is a year and some change. And so yeah, it's just the basic training, basic soldier task for a Green Berets training
Yeah.
course.
There you go. And yeah, I'm like you. I went through 18 Delta as well. It was awesome. Probably one of the best schools in the United States military. I've referenced it a couple times, but at Special Operations Medical School, you can't find anything better. You come out of there a trauma god. You're doing, you learn how to do really, really cool stuff. And,
Yeah.
and you hope you never have to use it. But in my case, I had to use it. I'm sure you had to use it. We'll dig into that. Next choice. Nut in the vise or pencil in the eye, all in slow motion.
Right.
You picked the pencil in the eye. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything testicles, I'm staying away from. So
yeah.
it doesn't matter what else, it is. I mean, as long as it's not like torture of my family, it's going, I'm staying away from my own sets.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd go with the eyeball too. You've got two of them, so hey. Yep. And patches, anybody with a patch on looks pretty cool,
Oh yeah.
I kind of like the pirate life. Okay, fast rope versus rappel. You picked fast rope.
Yeah, I mean obviously rappel. It's a little bit. I was kind of leaning towards that for a second, just because that can be different. Not platforms, but different terrain, right? So you're coming off of a rappel for buildings, mountains, things of that nature. Fast rope is kind of specific to helicopters and stuff like that. But at the same time, a helicopter gets you where you're going, so that's any platform, anywhere, at any time. So that's why I eventually went to fast rope.
Yeah, I look at fast rope as like the fast, expedient way, for sure, to get in. Rappelling, when I talk about platforms, I never liked rappelling out of a fucking helicopter. I thought it was like, when you have fast rope as a choice, the rappel part seems to become a little odd. But I do like your point.
Yeah, I'm not a mountaineer by any means. I did go to Ranger School, and that's one of my memories from Ranger School, is rappelling off one of the sides of the mountain and it being a sunset and just having that view. So that's why I was kind of leaning to. I was like, it's kind of nice, kind of scenic in a way, but at the same time, operationally, can't go wrong with fast rope.
Yeah, I'm with you. And for those listening, the reason I threw it out there is just an opportunity to kind of get a little inside military stuff. But a fast rope literally is this big, thick rope, the kind that you probably used to climb in your gymnasiums, kind of sort of like that. You hook it in to the helicopter, you throw it out the door, and then you literally use it as like a fireman pole down onto your target or wherever you're going. Whereas rappelling is a little more technical. I mean, you really got to know what you're doing. You're putting a harness on, you got hardware. You're clipping in, clipping out. You got people. I mean, people are always managing both of these. They're hearse masters and whatever they call it these days. But yeah, there's a lot more to it. But yeah, rappelling is far more utilitarian, right? You can use it, like you said, in urban environments, rural environments. It's more recreational. Wound versus kill. You picked wound.
Yeah, wound is listening to some of your other podcasts. I know some of your other guests kind of go with the capture side, which obviously there's pros and cons to it. Obviously when you take in some type of capture, I mean, you are taking care of that individual, if you're abiding by Geneva Convention and things of that nature. But at the same time, intel is huge. The more intel you have, the better your life is going to be in a variety of ways. So that's why I kind of lean to it now, because I am kind of getting into that space now to where the more information, more knowledge you have, the better off you'll be in a situation.
No, that's great. That's a great point. I like that. You didn't add waterboarding in. Where's that fall into this?
I don't know. I feel like I'm waterboarding my daughter sometimes when I'm giving her a bath, just because we haven't got down the fact that she needs to tilt her head a certain way. But
how old
at the
is
same
she?
time, she's about to be 2.
Oh, okay. So yeah, she's still young. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm not giving she's not like in her teens to where I'm giving her a bath. No, she's a toddler still.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of picked wound because the psychology of it, right? In the sniper world, there's that you always see in Hollywood and everything. It's all about kill, kill, kill. But wound, like psychologically, for especially if that force is sitting right there, you shoot somebody in the leg and have him screaming and yelling and laying there, and then you draw out his buddies to come help him. And then you shoot a couple of them in the leg. Now you got 3 or 4 guys laying there screaming and yelling. It'll ruin morale. It's kill is almost too easy. It's like you wound them, they're screaming, they're yelling, they're dying slowly, and the rest of the people they're with start to go, "Whoa, I don't want to go out there. I might get shot." Any kind of doubt you can put in your adversary's mind is always a good thing. And anyway, yeah, wound. I like it. Forgiveness versus permission. I know this is it's always a saying in our world, especially. And everyone always picks forgiveness. But go ahead and give us your reasoning.
Yeah, it's it's one of my slogans in life, and it's something that I've been teaching my wife ever since we met, because she'll probably watch this eventually. So I'm trying to figure out how to say.
Yeah, honey, I want you to ask for permission, but I'm going to ask for forgiveness. You really can't do that.
Well, especially, I tell her this all the time for her job, and because she works for the federal government, and that's the thing is, especially when it comes to competent people, there are a lot of things that holds you back, and if you have sound justification I'm not saying that the 100% truth all the time, but at the same time, if you're in a good position and know what's best for that particular situation, might as well just do it and then ask for forgiveness later. Because, we live in a very, especially in the military, federal government, it's very bureaucratic. If we waited for permission, we'd be waiting a long time and nothing would ever get done. So I'd say always ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, just push through. And make sure you take down the lessons learned if it's a total screw up.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We've got sniper versus tank. And these are kind of like a mentality, right? Yeah. You pick sniper.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing is, I was never ever get over to sniper school, but I do definitely, marksmanship is a big thing for me, especially with just a M4 or something like that, and you can use that as a sniper platform almost. Obviously not the distance, but the same principles apply. And it goes back to that psychological. When you're wounding, if you don't know, it's just something very surgical and precise about sniper operations, and that brings that psychological factor. Because I know for sure, other than IEDs, sniper, and then also tow missiles, because that's another thing. snipers was another, thing that was on the back of my mind anytime we were out doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, as far as mindset, like sniper is more of it's more thoughtful. It's more surgical, it's definitely more phase timeline, task oriented. Where the tank mentality is just like, let's just push through it, get it done, not too worried about consequence. You're just kind of just driving through the target, and you have the comfort of knowing you're in, a very armored vehicle, and you'll probably be all right. But yeah, I think I'd lean, definitely towards more of the sniper mindset. So now the 4-year-old version of you,
right?
Play with your poop or poop on a friend. You chose poop on the friend.
Yeah, I think if I was playing with my poop, then this would be kind of a different discussion. I mean, I don't know if anybody would say play with their own poop. But yeah, I mean, and plus it's funny to poop on your friend, right? I mean, not saying that I've ever done it, but at the same time, I'm sure if someone does it, within a certain setting, it might be funny.
It might. It's I think it's. I got two little caveats to that. So like when I went through in the Navy, you go through corpsman school, which is the Navy's medic, and it's basically this cheesy 3-month EMT basic course. And when you're done, probably the best part of it is you actually go to a hospital and you actually play the role of basically a candy striper, because they don't let you do much, right? You don't have much education, but but I ended up in the mental ward of the hospital I was working at. It was the most entertaining place. And there was this guy named Mr. Tate. Mr. Tate was a little old man who'd gone crazy. And he would play with his poop all day, every day, any opportunity he had. And in fact, when you would come in his room, you literally had to come in the best ninja you could be, because he would throw his poop at you, right? And that was like his thing. And he'd laugh, and he thought it was funny. And he literally was an old man, but he was acting like a 4-year-old. And then,
I mean, it's better poop than some other bodily fluid. So
yeah,
I think, urine first, poop second. And then, obviously, if I'd never would like to have another man's sperm
reproductive fluid.
Reproductive fluid on.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I'm with you.
You got the second best option out of that.
Yeah. Play with the poop. Be like Mr. Tate. And then poop on a friend. Now this is going to be a little odd to people, but in one of my platoons, we had this ongoing bet that, hey, I'll give you $100 if you could poop on my face. Now, if you use some of our medical knowledge, right? We know that we can prevent that, right? By you blow on the butthole. If someone's hovering over your face, and this is a hazing session, and they're about to poop, all you got to do is blow on their butthole, and they won't be able to have a bowel movement. Yeah. It's like the part of the whole vagal nerve, right? So can you want to expand on the vagal?
You're talking about the anal wink?
Yeah, it just shuts it down. So right? It clamps it shut. All right, we got off on a tangent. Never mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why medicine's so important, make sure you don't get pooped on.
Yeah. And I'm sure I don't know, has 18 Delta changed from when I went through to when you went through with the prostate checks with your buddy sitting next to you in class?
Funny you say that, because I actually went through back in 2012 when I was in the Q course, and then failed out in Trauma 2. And then that's how I became a weapons sergeant, and then went back through recently after spending time in 5th Group. And yeah, they actually... they changed the protocols because there was one particular class. And so I got the first time I was there, I got the full show. Right. Yeah. So, and the full experience, which I still remember vividly to this day. And going back through, that was one of the things on my mind. I was like, are they going to make me go through this as a TAP guy? I mean, it's beneficial to a certain extent. No one our age really is looking to get our prostate checked at this time. That doesn't come until, later. But at the same time, when I went back through, they had gotten rid of it. And it was because one particular class complained about it. And so wherever it went up the chain, and then eventually got written out of the curriculum. Yeah. So no, they do not do that anymore. They also don't do GI tubes anymore on each other, which was another kind of, rite of passage that you do, so to speak.
Yeah. No. I
And
remember
then,
them clearly.
yeah, so there's a lot. I mean, I hate to say it, but there's some stuff in the curriculum that's kind of softened up just because of complaints from the students. And
Yeah.
I'm not
Woke.
saying that,
It's wokeness,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's fucking
I'm not
wokeness.
saying that, digital rectal exams are the most pertinent thing that a medic has to do. But at the same time, it was in there for a reason, I'm assuming. And so just the fact that it got taken out, is a little weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Which one, now while we're on that topic, which one was most uncomfortable, truly uncomfortable? Putting the tube through your nose and down into your stomach, or prostate check?
So the funny thing about that, I had complications on both. So the GI tube, it went down my trachea the first time, so it went through my vocal cords, and
Oh,
so I
damn.
couldn't talk. And then as I was trying to talk, it's a very strange, like raspy feeling in your throat, and also you can't breathe, so that's not good either. But I didn't throw up, which is a good thing. So, and then when it came to the DRE, the guy was so nervous because the instructor came over and was looking over his head that he started, when you're inserting into uh, the anus, you're supposed to rotate your finger to do that 360 check. Well, he was doing it super fast. So he was doing like this.
I just want to get it over with.
Yeah. And I'm going to have to use the politically correct term. He was doing a Native American burn on me, right? To where it was like really fast and I could feel a little bit of friction. And I was like, ah. And then finally the instructor was like, hey, whoa, slow down. And because I remember what it was. The instructor, he was very well known for, if you didn't have your finger up to the certain distance that he liked, he would come and take your hand or your arm and physically, jab it up there. And so I looked to the guy before, we're doing the DRE, and I was like, look, man, I don't care what you have to do. Do not let him come over and jam your finger further up my butt. So that's why, like, all those things kind of, together just made him a little nervous. But at the same time, so like I said, I had two different complications, but I'd say worst thing. I would have to say DRE. I know for a lot of guys it probably is the GI tube, and I'm not saying that was pleasant either. But I think I
No.
would probably do the DRE over. Sorry, I would do the GI tube over rather than the DRE.
Yeah. DRE, everyone, that's your prostate check. Just acronyms. Yeah. What does that stand for?
Digital rectal exam. So digital being your finger, and then yeah.
Well, there you go, everyone. I don't know if you wanted to know that information, but now you got it.
Well, now you do.
And then what the new age now, speaking of prostates for you guys, I think it's kind of bumped down. It used to be 50, now it's down to 45 or something like that, right?
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming that for whatever reason, just like anything else, the age or the numbers keep, kind of broadening out, especially with like blood pressure. That number's different now. High blood pressure isn't considered 140 over now. It's considered, I think, 130. It might be even 120. If you're over 120, they'll consider you high blood pressure for whatever reason, whether that's pharmaceutical based or
that's
what else. But
yeah, that's pharmaceuticals. That's big pharm trying to fucking make you take every drug. Okay, moving on. Boy, that was good. I like that one. All right. Hump it in or jump it in, and you picked hump it in because it's the most familiar. Yeah. Explain what humping is, by the way.
Yeah. So humping, the other version is, when you got a rucksack on your back and you just, carrying that in. And, and like I said, I actually had a slot for Halo in the Q course. And that's when they were starting to try to put Halo on the end of the Q course back in the day. And actually, I think for a time there, it was steady numbers. And I think it's dwindled now for probably budgetary reasons, among other things. But, yeah, didn't get it because of my vision at the time. And then, so never had a chance to do it. So going back to what I'm familiar with, which is putting a rock on my back and carrying that in. And like I said, it's not fun. And at no point in time has it ever been fun for me. But at the same time, I gotta stick to my roots, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. Jumping in a bunch of gears, it's cool, but it's not that cool. Enlisted versus officer. Enlisted.
Yeah. So
you're an enlisted
and that's
guy,
the thing.
right?
Yeah. And I had my degree coming in, so I could have gone the officer route, but I chose to, one, it would have put years on the time that I could have gone to the Q course because I came in as an X-ray. with an 18 X-ray contract, which, is the contract civilians can sign to at least give you a spot at selection once you're done with basic training in airborne school. And then yes, but I chose enlisted because just like with a lot of things in life, it's better to get your hands dirty with that subject matter. And then if you want to, be more of a supervisor thinker type of role later on, then that's all good too. But at the same time, there's just something about having that experience, getting your hands dirty first before you start doing that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you. And in our community, the enlisted run the show anyway. Our officers.
Well, they're supposed to.
Yeah, they're supposed to. I don't know if it's anymore, but during my time, we ran it. I mean, your senior enlisted guys run the show, and you're real quick to always remind the officers that the root word of officer is office. So shut the fuck up. All right. Danger close versus avoid danger. And I know this is a tough one for people, especially with what we're going to be talking about and what you're doing now that you're out. Avoid danger was your choice.
Yeah. Yeah. So funny thing about that, as a weapons sergeant, I actually dealt with mortars. So danger close is kind of something a little near and dear to my heart because I actually did enjoy mortars. Maybe one of the few Bravos who did, but yeah. So but yeah, from this subject matter of speaking in self-defense and then just in military operations in general, as I got older anyway, avoiding danger is always the best course just because there's always going to be danger out there. And you'll sometimes get into it no matter what you do. So if you can avoid it. And then there probably will come a day where you can't avoid it and then you'll have to deal with it. But at the same time, I never recommend, just falling into danger haphazardly. So it's best to stay away from it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, especially once, really what you grow up, right? No matter what, you have different phases of your life. When you're a kid, there's a moment when you realize, okay, that's stupid. I probably shouldn't do it. And then, when you're a teenager, it's a different thing, but it's the same thought process. And then when you get into the military, you kind of go through your phase. You're like, yeah, fuck it. And then you kind of, break a leg and go, yeah, that probably wasn't a good idea. And you learn, right? You just keep learning. I have to say, I'm probably I definitely lean. I'm a risk taker, but these days it's like, got to weigh it out, especially with the crazy people out there.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the key there. Is as long as you're you're weighing the risk and at least considering it, and then you can still if the risk is something you still want to take, then take it, but make sure you're considering what the risks actually are.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's dig into you. All right. The rapid fire's over. Now we're going to roll into a little bit of past, present, future with you and everything you got going on. What led you to the military?
Yeah. So, honestly, growing up, never had any, it wasn't my goal to join the military. I actually had a stigma about the military. I still kind of do in some ways, but at the same time, I looked, especially because, for me, the military, my exposure to it was like JRTC at school or something. And I would just look at those guys and be like, yeah,
dorks.
So, very judgmental, obviously.
It's like the kid. It's like the kids that wear their Boy Scout uniform to school. You're kind of like, dude, don't do that.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, so once I went to college and it was around my junior year that I realized, because I was going there for exercise sports science, and I realized I didn't want to be a personal trainer all my life. That's a pretty decent job. But at the same time, I wanted something more purposeful, something more fulfilling that I would find anyway. And so around my junior year in college, I called up a Marine recruiter, and this is how naive I was. And I was like, hey, I want to be a Marine sniper. And he was like, all right, well,
come down and sign a dotted line.
And thankfully, I just called him, and I don't remember why I never really followed up on it, but I didn't. And I went ahead and finished out, which I knew I was going to finish out my degree. And I think that's what I told him. I was like, hey, I still want to graduate college. This is what I'm looking for. And then as I'm graduating college, my focus kind of adjusted a little bit to where I started hearing about human trafficking and sex trafficking. And so that was what I wanted to get into, but I knew that I couldn't. I mean, now I knew I could go into the FBI or something like that straight out of college. But at the same time, I wanted to get a little bit of more hands-on experience. So I thought about just local law enforcement. And at the time, probably still is the case, I applied for Durham Police Department in North Carolina, and because that was pretty heavy in crime, and I wanted to go to the place that that I would get the most action at, so to speak.
Danger
And
close.
yeah, and at the same time too, my one of the personal trainers at the gym that I went to, he was an Army reservist, and he just happened one day. My mom told him that I was thinking about the military and law enforcement, and he wanted to talk to me one day, and he was like, "Yeah, have you ever heard of the Green Berets?" And quite honestly, I hadn't. I never watched the movie with John Wayne, even though my dad was a huge John Wayne fan. I never. Um, I watched the news quite a bit, but for whatever reason, I never really heard him. I mean, obviously, it probably was spoke about in general, like special operations or special forces. But yeah, I mean, as soon as he told me about it, I was like, yeah, that actually does sound pretty cool. And then I started doing a little bit more research, and then just by so I actually did start speaking to a recruiter, and then the recruiter was getting up his paperwork, but I was at the same time still in the process with Durham Police Department, and and then here's a little bit of my naiveness coming up again. When I got my conditional offer with them, I showed up in plain clothes instead of business casual because I thought it was just me signing paperwork and leaving. I didn't realize it was a more formal process. And then once that happened, they kind of cut ties with me. And then my only option was, well, at the time, uh, the military. And so I took the military, and thankfully it was the better decision. I think I
Yeah.
have a better life for it. And so yeah, I took that 18 X-ray contract, went to basic training 6 months later, back in 2011. And then after basic training, airborne school, then I went to selection, got selected in February of 2012.
Nice. And I got a question for you. So have you ever heard of Rambo?
Yeah, actually, well, I will say this. I'm one of the few Green
Like,
Berets that has not watched that movie fully.
you've
And
never
I know
watched
I
any of
will
the
get,
Rambo movies?
I know. And
But
it's
did you
weird.
know who Rambo was when before? Like when somebody said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Green Berets?"
Well, I knew
Uh,
Rambo. I just didn't know he was a ex Green Beret. So that's the thing
okay.
is I
Yeah.
knew who Rambo was. I just thought he was a guy, in the woods, just hacking people up. But that's,
Yeah, that's what Green
but yeah,
Berets do, right?
but yeah. So yeah, the thing about me too is I actually stay away from modern military movies or anything like that, just because I like World War II era type stuff, but at the same time, when it comes to modern uh, depictions of modern war, I don't know, I just stay away from it. It's just it's not that I don't because I never saw what's that movie? uh it's about a fifth group going in at the beginning
Oh, 12
of a
Horsemen or
war.
something.
Yeah, the 12
12
damn it.
Horsemen? Something horse.
Yeah,
They're on
something like that.
horses. Yeah.
But I've never seen that, and obviously that's like the most, the most modern Green Beret movie. I think I don't think anything else has come out. But yeah, I kind of just stay away from it. But at the same time, yeah, I knew who Rambo was. I just didn't know he was a Green Beret at the time. And
All right,
then
just
yeah,
checking. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you roll in, you go through boot camp, you get to Q course. We kind of touched on that. What do you think? Was Q course, did you find it difficult, or what was your overall kind of thoughts on it?
Not
What was
necessarily.
the hardest part for you?
I mean, obviously, stressful knowing that it was my worst nightmare to fill out and go to the regular army. And I'm not saying that every unit in the regular army is bad. I know there's some good units out there with some good leadership and good
Yeah.
soldiers. But at the same time, for me, being who I was at the time and still kind of am, like I knew my personality would not mesh with that type of stuff. I mean, I know it's probably the case for a lot of us, which a lot of civilians I talk to about this, they find it weird that I'm not really I don't take well to authority or like direct orders. And they're like, oh, but you're in the military. I'm like, well, yeah, but where I was at, we had direct orders coming down and I had to abide by my leadership. But at the same time, there was a little bit of conversation there. If only it was me having a complaint, them shutting it down, and then me having to go along with it. At least it was that. At least I had the option to, state my complaint. But for the most part, I just have this. It's just something about when people tell me something to do, and I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna, whatever it is. So I definitely have this like, um, I don't really
Yeah.
go well with authority, and so that's why like when it comes to the Q course, it was very stressful because that was always in the back of my mind. And I'd say, obviously the Q course as a whole does have moments of like it's difficult in that moment in time. And you know, they tell you that in the Q course to where, you know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So obviously whatever the next task is ahead of you, that's what you're focused on, and don't worry about what's coming on after that. Obviously, you know, that'll come when it comes. And so I'd say for the most part, you know, looking at it as a whole, it is a very difficult course. It absolutely is. But when you do take it in slices and you do understand the task in front of you, it makes it a lot easier. Now, with that being said, the long story short, the medic course is absolutely probably the hardest part of the course, just because not only is it technical, but it's stressful. And then not only that, but then you have to learn all this information that the other MOSs don't have to learn, and it's longer and it's more grueling, and just that whole process and everything kind of encompassed together makes it a little bit more difficult than the rest of it.
Yeah, I'd agree. 18 Delta is no joke, and you know, it's easy to fail out, or it's easy to make a mistake, and especially in different phases where sometimes you're just kind of at the mercy of the guys around you, or the goat, you know. So
or the instructor, then you know,
or the instructor
roulette is a thing. And
it is.
And actually going through the second time, that's where a lot of that stress wasn't there anymore, is because I wasn't afraid of the instructors anymore, because they were my peers. I mean, I didn't know a lot of them personally, but at the same time, you know, a lot of them had gone through it at the same time I did in the Q course. So really, I was just there to learn and to perform, and I didn't have that extra, you know, making sure that I was, you know, impressing the instructors or not getting on their bad side. Because that's the thing, is once you're on their bad side, there's really no getting around it. So you know, that's the thing. Going back through the second time, it was, you know, that wasn't there anymore.
One of the things I like to ask everybody is like scariest, crazy survival moment you've had. It doesn't necessarily have to be while you're in the military or anything of that sort, but just a moment where you're like, holy crap, that was close, or that sucked.
Yeah. So so I'm gonna I won't be too much of a Debbie Downer, but you know, my actual personal experience, I've been pretty lucky when it's come to stuff that I deal with personally. But you know, back in 2014, actually, when I was graduating from the Q course, I just graduated in October, and I was on leave, and then it came around Christmas, and my dad ended up going to the hospital because he was having a hard time breathing. And so when he finally did go to the hospital, I went in with him. And then, long story short, he had congestive heart failure. I think he had kidney failure as well, which the doctors at the time really didn't tell us any of that. And he ended up passing away right in front of me. And I remember those moments of, you know, obviously leading up to it and the time that he was passing away, and just thinking to myself, like, you know, one, I wasn't a graduate of the medic course, not saying I could have done anything anyway, because we're at a hospital and there's officials who can handle that. But at the same time, just that inability to actually do something directly that would help my dad, and then relying on other individuals. And this is a small hospital that happens to be almost, you know, it's close to Bragg. It's only, I think it's a 2-hour drive, because I have some family down there. And yeah, so I watched him as he was taking his last breaths, and I just remember, like, you know, the weirdness of knowing what's happening, me not being able to do anything about it, and then just like, you know, me being a bystander at that point. And you know, the last thing I was able to say to him was, you know, I knew that this could be his last moment. So I made sure, because he was starting to fade off, and his head was starting to fall, and I yelled his name so he would look at me, and he did. And so I was able to tell him that I loved him and stuff like that. But I'd say, like, you know, that is kind of the focal point of my life, to where, you know, when it comes to trauma or, you know, a crisis or anything like that, like I said, I haven't really had anything that's been life-threatening to me, so to speak, to where, you know, I've really looked at it as a severe moment. But obviously the passing of my dad is something that has really resonated with me at the time, and then even now still. And it is something that I speak about a little bit in the book, just, you know, just as dealing with grief and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of those moments. I've had the same. And there's a lot of ways people can go. And I got to say, my mom and dad both went probably the better of options, right? Cancer is so prevalent, and people that go that route, I feel for their family, because everyone goes through the cancer together, and it's slow and it's destructive, and all the way down to where they're just skin and bones laying in a bed and sitting in hospice, and they don't even get to make a choice on when they get to go. And so I mean, for my parents, they both took like a much shorter route. So I'm like, man, I want that route. I don't want to do the cancer route. And if I get cancer and it gets to the point where I'm stumbling, that's when I'm going to just, I'm just going to go and grab my chute and go to one of these skydiving places. And then I'm just going to go head first, all out, 220 miles an hour.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I was actually there when my dad's mom passed away too, and she passed away in her sleep. Which she had lung cancer, and then it went to her brain. And then my mom's mom just recently passed from COPD, but it was in her sleep. And that's the thing. I started really thinking about it because and then my granddad, he passed away from complicated dementia. He pretty much couldn't eat anymore because it was like, I think it was one of those, like, I can't remember what the actual name of it is, but it's that really severe form of dementia where you just like comes on really quickly and then you just don't eat just because I guess your brain function is just completely deteriorated. But then I started really thinking about like, what's the percentage of people who actually die in their sleep peacefully, right? And so it's like, man, there's a lot of people that have this grueling route to death, whether it's trauma related or not. And I'm not saying to think about it as like, something to dread, but at the same time, it's just something I thought about. And I was like, man, there's, you really do hope that your loved ones go through a very peaceful death, and that it's, something that, because that's the last moments of their life, and not knowing, what is after this and stuff like that. I've always, and that's why I wanted that last moment for him to know that. And I hate it too, because I always wondered, like, in his mind, when I yelled his name and said what I said, was he thinking, go get someone, I'm dying here? Or was he actually like thankful that I was saying that? But at the same time, I knew that, in that moment, I wanted him to know that someone was there with him while he was passing. And, obviously I called out for help, but they took their sweet time a little bit getting there because he was in the ICU at that time, and they were just down the hall. And they actually did bring him back. But he was unconscious and then ended up coding again. So he was never awake again. So that was his last moments. But yeah, it's just, like I said, I don't think about life and death too often, but at the same time, there are a lot of individuals that, that don't have that peaceful death that you hope for. And especially for your loved ones, that is something that you wish for them.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And then as far as life and death, what do you think? You think, what are we become rabbits and just do what rabbits do forever? Or what do you think?
My granddad was a Methodist preacher. So
yeah,
I grew up Methodist, and I still hold those beliefs. And I'm not saying that at times I don't have, that I don't really think about it and think like certain things, don't seem rational or, because obviously there's a lot of stories from the Bible that you think like, man, that was just a story that someone told someone so they wouldn't do bad stuff, but at the same time, you gotta be a little bit of an optimist. I think you gotta think that there is something on the other side, because truly, if life is random, then that's pretty random that this has all happened, right? And that it is designed in this manner, and that we have, especially for humans, that we have this ability to have purpose, and we have this ability to actually create change and real goodness and stuff like that. Like, for that to be random is kind of strange. But then also you can argue, hey, humans do bad things, and they do really, really terrible things. And how can a God exist to do that? And so, without getting too philosophical, I would say that I am first and foremost a Christian. I do hold those beliefs, but at the same time, there are moments that I have, just like anybody else, where I'm like, man, there's so much, stuff I hear about that, I got to wonder. But at the same time, I try to stay optimistic.
Yeah, I certainly do the why. Like, why would you put a pedophile on this planet? It's like, what the fuck sense does that make? Yeah, I just think they're bad
mosquitoes
souls.
And ticks.
It's just, that too, I just think there's souls, and there's good souls, there's bad souls, and they inhibit bodies and they do stupid shit. Deployments. What kind of deployments did you rack up?
Yeah, so I only got two to Syria during the conflict with ISIS. My first one could have been really great, and it ended up being it was actually at the time where there was supposed to be 30-man bog and country. So we kept getting in, kept getting kicked out because we were there's obviously other people in the country, and we were actually attached with
Was that because the Russians? The Russians were in the country, or what?
No, it was just I think at the time Obama just didn't want to make it seem like that the U.S. had too much of a presence there, and so
okay.
we were just doing the advising role, and so to speak, and so we but yeah, we were kind of attached on as we had a mission, but at the same time it was more to boost the security in that area, and politically we kind of got held back, and then but and then we actually missed a pretty huge offensive. So the team that replaced us got to have that, and then we ended up replacing them when we came back. So we had the same region, but the offensive was already over. So we were just kind of maintaining what had already been gained, and which a lot of that offensive obviously was done by the local populace anyway, the indigenous people, and then obviously U.S. was just kind of advising, planning, and doing all the military work, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, So, and that aspect is, pretty typical when it came down to it. We were also training guys, like I said, going through basic training over there to make sure, because every time a village got, what's the word? Every time,
terrorized.
New air. Well, no, the opposite. Anytime like liberated, there we go. Anytime the village was liberated, they would pull in those recruits, put them in our school, and then they would be sent back out to fight in whatever capacity. But thankfully, we were able to train instructors, so their own people started instructing them, and we just kind of oversaw the school itself. So that gave us time to do more missions on the side instead of being stretched thin and doing that whole split team operation type stuff. So I mean, it was a very good experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Actually, I loved being in Syria. I liked it over there because we were, out in the country in Syria. We're actually, on the water. So we were there, had a nice little house we were a part of, and I enjoyed my time over there. And then and it was actually my second deployment that I was speaking to my medic. And because I was always trying to help him out because we ended up kind of pushing our senior medic out, and so it was just him, and so I was always helping him out with medic stuff because I always, that was something always in the back of my mind to where I wanted to be a medic and I wanted to kind of redeem myself in that failure that I had, and so I was always helping him out because he didn't have any help, and then eventually he was the one who told me that he recommended I would go and reclass because he was talking about, because I wanted to go to sniper school, something like that. He was like, look, man, that can be done at any time, but you want to go back and get that reclass because you'd be so much more valuable to the team, and really, and I knew that for a fact because as there's 3 Bravos on the team, me and 2 other guys, and we were always fighting for spots to go on mission, and then him as the medic, he goes on every single mission because you have to have that medical support, and then also the thing about that is when you're in garrison, as the Bravos were running around with our heads cut off, trying to get ranges set up and this, that, and other, I would always look to him. He'd be sitting at the team table eating Taco Bell for breakfast. And I was like, man, that's the life where you eat Taco Bell for breakfast. And then you get on every single mission while we're out on deployment. And, and that's, and not saying that that's truly how it is on a team, but, at the time, that's what it was for him. And, so yeah, that's what got me to want to go back and reclass. And so as I was leaving out, they were going back on deployment. So I kind of missed out on that third one. And then from there, once I reclassed, I ended up meeting my now wife, and I knew right then and there, I was like, I can't really deploy anymore because I do.
She ruined your entire Army career.
She ruined my career. Well, that's the thing is, she actually has a very good career. So I knew right then and there, I was like, I'm not going to uproot her or try to get her to change her career on my behalf. Her pay grade is well above mine. So I decided to become a housewife, so to speak, actually using my GI Bill and join the National Guard. So.
Yeah, getting educated while you did it. So you get out, and I saw you got an MBA, and but let's take some time and focus on, you got a book, yeah? Got a
Right.
book. It's out or it's coming out.
Yeah, it's actually I just sent over the manuscript Monday. So they're now working on the book cover and format. So hopefully within by September that'll be coming out.
Oh, nice. And so
Yeah.
tell us, what's this book going to be about, and what are people going to be able to get from it?
Yeah. So when I first started wanting to write a book, I knew I wanted to, because I'm a very conceptual foundation type of guy. Like I'm very big on fundamentals, which a lot of Green Berets are, because that's, which a lot of soldiers should be, because that's where everything kind of stems from. And so I wanted to write a book that if nothing else, then readers would be able to have the fundamentals to certain concepts when it comes to self-defense and safety, and really a template to be able to mold to their own, because not everybody is the same, and I wanted to kind of put a template that people can kind of follow and then also mold it their own. But as I was writing the book, it got to the point where I was like, man, this sounds more like a self-help book than it does like a straight up security, self-defense, hand to hand punch someone in the balls type of thing. And so that's when I started really creating like you know uh, part of the fight for your best life is the title of the book, and what that's meant to show is that one um, you know the whole point of safety and security is so that you can have that best life for yourself and that you can pursue a purpose. Because if as we know by Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if the basic needs of food, water, shelter, and safety and security aren't met, then odds are you getting to a certain point in your life where you reach self-actualization or some type of life goal, that's going to be very difficult to do. So I wanted people to have this fundamental book of, hey, I can, get that framework, the foundation to safety and security, so then I can then move on to other stuff. And then all that kind of aligns within the books. I'm always in each section of the book, I'm always going back to people's core values or their life goals and making sure that their safety and security needs and goals align with all that, so you have complete alignment. Because that's another thing too, is there's so much out there that a lot of times we kind of put ourselves in too many situations or try to stretch ourselves too thin. And the more focused we are and the more aligned we are with everything that's going on with our life, it's just more of a harmony. And I think a better life for people, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I like that. Aligning safety and security with the lifestyle aspects, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah. So two examples. One would be, if you happen to be a runner, then maybe that is part of your safety and security, to where you just run away from whatever it is. Right. And so, but within that, that means that you're training running, and you probably do all the time, whether you're a marathon runner, sprint runner, but I want you to be like the best at it. So like, I want to make sure that, and you probably are, if that's something that you've already identified as, say your life goal was to run a marathon. Well, then you have a training program for running. And then part of your safety and security planning is like, hey, I know I'm a very good runner. So maybe in every, whatever scenario I'm training for, or not training, but preparing for, like running is going to be kind of the focal point of that.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, obviously firearms too. If you're big on firearms, then that should be a focal point in your safety planning. But if you're not into firearms, then I'm not going to go tell you to go buy a pistol or a shotgun and put that as your safety plan, because you're not going to want to do that anyway. And so it's just more about finding the strengths in people and what they're actually interested in, and then just aligning that with their safety and security needs, so that everything just kind of meshes together, and they're not really having a hard time, because habits are hard to form, right? So as long as we can find something that you're interested in, and then be able to kind of focus on that, I think that gives better, people a better opportunity to actually provide for their safety and security.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think that's great points, and focusing on people's strengths. I say it all the time. Like, if you don't know how to use a gun, don't. It's okay. And until you know
Absolutely.
how to use it, then yeah, you can integrate it. But otherwise, you're just going to end up getting yourself killed, or once you pull that trigger and that bullet goes, yeah, there's no putting it back in the barrel. So, what would you recommend to the housewife then, as far as aligning it with?
Yeah. So, I mean, not even like considering skill sets or anything. The housewife knowing. So I'd say off the top of my head, housewives, they know the inside and outside of their home, right? Because they're there on a daily basis. And I can say that for as personal experience, because like I said, I've been going to school. I've been going to school ever since I got active duty, and so yeah, very familiar with the house, very familiar where things are, and this is something I also harp on is SOPs, establishing SOPs for the house itself, whether that be a first aid kit goes here or what's in that first aid kit, and so really truly, when it would come down to it, the housewife or whoever stays at the home for a certain amount of time is like I mean, perfect example almost is Home Alone, to where, something like that, to where, Macaulay Culkin was like the dominant figure in that house just because he knew he had, home turf advantage. And so that's what it comes, which that's for everybody. It doesn't be housewives. If you live in the house, you should be able to utilize all the tools and resources. But at the same time, I'd say that's a strength there, to where you have that home field advantage. And so you can have things set up in a manner that you can use based off your skill sets and stuff like that. And then obviously, for a home intruder or something like that, they would be coming into it blind, not knowing where things are. So they would already be at a disadvantage. Now you take that outside and put them into an active shooter scenario. Obviously now it's a little bit different. The active shooter would have a little bit more advantage because they probably did plan for it. And then the individual in this case probably, can't be too familiar with the situation. But at the same time, I say, that would be the skill sets of the housewife or whoever is there at home for a long period of time, is that they have this ability to really, that home field advantage and be able to plan out the house for home invasions and things like that.
Yeah, no, that supports. I mean, I've said it on the show and I've said it in my books and all that. It's like, your blueprint better than anybody else. Keep the lights out. Don't feel like you got to pull out a flashlight. You don't need any of that. Keep it dark and let the bad guy trip and fall all night long. Oh, yeah. No, that's really good stuff. And so as far as a chapter breakdown, to give an idea of kind of how you did that, how does it flow?
Yeah, so it's 5 sections. So section 1 is all about the self. So I go into figuring out your core values, your safety goals, your life goals. Then it also goes into like, what are your strengths and limitations? And then it's just pretty much trying to understand who you are as a person so that we can better put you in a position where you are developing yourself in the best way possible. The second section is all about external factors. So it's introducing the analytical process of really sitting down and analyzing stuff in an objective manner. And so I depict that in the onion model, to where it talks about like your loved ones, bystanders, law enforcement, lawyers, and it goes all the way up to the the laws that we have in place that might pertain to self-defense and things like that. Section 3 is about prevention and preparation. So it just goes into the normal, hey, you need a plan, you need SOPs. This is kind of how you go about it. And then section 4 is the safety event itself, or what I call safety event, which is any event that puts yourself or others at risk of harm. And it just talks about general mindsets and concepts that I kind of, from my perspective of, one thing would be, fight, flight, freeze. I just go over that a little bit, just because that's a huge thing. In these, obviously in the military, we're trained that so much that, not specifically, it's not like you're like, hey, today, boys, we're doing fight, flight training, fight, flight, freeze training. But at the same time, that's kind of built into the programming. And then also I talk about like tactical advantage and positioning and things of that nature, and just the flow of an event and how to really, position yourself in the best case to come out, unscathed, so to speak. And then the last little bit is the section 5 is the aftermath. And it just talks about grief, survival's guilt, and not saying that I have, I'm an expert on that, because I'm not, but at the same time, I give my perspective on it. And then just kind of like, knowing that a safety event is just kind of the beginning, because if you survive that and either whether or not someone dies or not, or if they're hurt, you still are going to have a little bit of stuff happening on the back end. And I'd rather give a readers a little bit of a, exposure to that type of concepts before it happens in real life. Because really awareness is the key when it comes to stuff. The more you're aware of things before it happens, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, I like the flow, man. I think that's really good. And I like that ending, because you're right. It's once it's all said and done, your life dramatically changes. and most people don't talk about it or even think about it. So that's cool, man. I look forward to seeing that. So where can people find you to follow and then also pre-order and or purchase the book?
So the book is going to be mostly, Amazon based, and then, I mean, so you will be able to get like the ebook version. I think I will do ebook for all the, major platforms. And then, but if you want to purchase a physical copy, I think Amazon is going to be the best place for that. Now, when it comes to get in touch with me, I do have a website up called mindshieldandSpear.com. And that's kind of the, because I'm trying to do like a consulting startup here that will build upon what the book is actually doing. But if there are professionals out there that like to get in touch with me, because I do want to collaborate, because I want to bring in as many perspectives as I can, because that's really where I think is the key when it comes to self-defense, is perspective, because we all got, different kind of ways of doing things and stuff like that, and not, different strokes for different folks, right? So I want to make sure that I bring everybody into the conversation. So LinkedIn is the best place to get with me professionally, and then also for the book itself, I do have a Facebook page, but at the same time, you'll get most of everything on mindshieldandSpear.com. And I'd say for the book and other resources, that'd be the best place to go.
So mindshieldSpear.com, and then look for John Brewer on all the social platforms.
Right. And just it is Mind Shield and Spear. So I got the and in there. Yeah.
Oh, mind. Got it. Make sure you put the and in there. We'll put the links and we'll associate when this goes live. All right. So now, really what you're here for, what I want you here for, is to see if you can survive this podcast. So far, you're doing pretty good. But like I kind of warned you at the beginning, the only right answer is the answer right here on my screen. So are you ready?
I am. See.
You're ready. Okay,
so
here we go.
Is how I said in Arabic.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, there you go. Shway, 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 shway. We're going to start. This is an adventure. This one's going to be an adventure. So here we go. You order an Uber ride and hop into the car, expecting a routine trip to your destination. The driver seems friendly, and the ride starts off smoothly. The driver engages you in small talk. Do you A, engage in casual conversation with the driver, or B, keep to yourself, focus on your phone or maybe a book?
Yeah, so first off, I'm checking to make sure that the child lock isn't on the door. So I'm going to make sure that's not on, because thankfully I haven't been through that situation, but I've heard it's happening. But no, I'm always engaging in conversation and never, especially in strange places, I'm out of my phone. I never take a book with me. I'm not an avid reader, ironically enough. And so, but yeah, I'm engaging in conversation.
Yeah, good idea. And you made a great point. I mean, I've got a video series somewhere out there that talks about the safety with Uber, right? You order the Uber. It's going to give you make, model, license plate, and all the good information you're supposed to be looking for. But if you're not looking for it, well, then you're wrong. Yeah. When the Uber pulls up, right? So you have far recognition, near recognition. Far recognition is make, model, color, license plate. So from the distance, you know it's yours. Near recognition is when it comes near. Now you remain silent. Mm-hmm. They'll roll down the window, and they are supposed to say your name, okay? If they say your name, then you've just got right uniform, right place, right time, all the good stuff that we do in the military, and you're probably going to be okay. Now, the physical features, like John just brought up, right? It's like you got to fucking check the door. Make sure that door opens and closes freely inside and out before you actually get in it. The child locks is a big deal. It used to be a manual one on the actual, on the locking mechanism, right there at the edge of the door when it's open. But these days they're electronic. The way you can test it is this is great because you're testing two things at once. The windows go down. Okay, roll the window down, close the door, stick your arm inside, and now try and open the door. Okay. And then, of course, once you get in, there's a big debate about whether you sit behind the driver. I like sitting behind the driver. It looks weird. It's kind of odd, but I want to be able to use his seatbelt to choke him the fuck out if he starts acting weird. Okay? Anyway, we could go on and on with that, but I'll stop it there. Okay, so yes, you are correct. Engage in casual conversation with the driver. Okay? This is good. You're just trying to keep it relaxed. You want to keep them relaxed. Plus, we're both humans, and the more you show that you're a human, the harder it is to hurt you. Okay. As the ride progresses, you start to notice the driver taking an unfamiliar route. Okay? Now, once again, you're looking at your phone every now and then because the route is on your phone. And it's a good reference point, making sure he's staying on route. But he starts taking weird turns, deviates from the intended route, and you get the feeling that there might be some danger, buddy. Okay? So, do you A, ask the driver, what are you doing? Or B, just kind of pretend to go along with the detour and just kind of hang out?
Yeah. No, I'd definitely ask, but I'd ask in a non-accusatory way of saying, hey, I think you missed your turn, or, or, hey, I think the other way is faster because, I know the route. Maybe I don't, maybe I do, but at the same time I say, hey, I think this route is a little bit faster, and then see what his explanation is. And he's got an explanation. I gauge that on how, if it's rational or not. But at the same time, I definitely want to make sure that I'm not showing my hand that I'm a little suspicious of this guy, because the more I can keep him relaxed, the more I can, kind of gain intel off of him, just to make sure that everything's kosher. Because also at the same time, he might just be, I see on my Uber Eats rides, they're always taking some crazy routes. And I'm like, why is this person going this way? Because I'm tracking them the whole time because I'm hungry, right? And then so they're going some crazy routes around. So it happens, but at the same time, it's definitely something to ask about.
No, I like that. Yeah, you're dead on. Ask the driver, right? Just ask. It can be, hey, do you know about construction ahead or something? Because they might actually know that there's this crazy detour or an accident or something that, your app isn't going to tell you about all that kind of stuff. His Google map that he might be using for navigation might be suggesting a different route because of an accident, because of traffic. And you can use that to kind of feel what's going on. So you ask the driver why he's going. His explanation doesn't make too much sense. The driver is now driving away from your destination at a high rate of speed. Okay? So, do you A, threaten to call the cops, or B, tell them to go ahead and pull over and let you out right now?
No, I would never show my hand unless I'm bluffing to get a reaction. So I definitely wouldn't threaten to call the cops. If I'm going to call the cops, I'll call them and actually just put it on my lap and obviously not show him that that's what I'm doing, because at that point in time, I don't need to talk to the cops directly. I'll just have it on my lap and say, as I'm speaking to the driver, I say, hey, you're not going the correct route, and then try to convey some type of narrative so the operator knows. So the long story short is that I asked the driver to pull over and say, hey, you can just let me out here. I'll try to come up with a story about, unless it's just in the middle of nowhere. Obviously can't be like, hey, pull me over. I'll just, my buddy said he'll meet me here. Now, if it's in an urban area, I could kind of say, hey, I forgot to stop at the store or something like that. But at the same time, definitely asking that driver stop just for whatever reason. Yeah,
exactly. The threats don't threaten. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're going to do it. I agree. Yeah. And just remember, you put it on speakerphone, turn your volume down. They can hear everything. Don't worry about what the dispatcher's asking, because they'll hear it. And that's when you say, hey, Uber driver, stop and let me out. Yeah. Right? Now you got something rolling. Now you're actually, because at the end of the day, you got to look out for yourself first, because 911 ain't showing up anytime soon. All right.
Oh, no.
So yeah, you are correct. You asked the driver to pull over, and after some time, the driver pulls over to a secluded location. Okay? Then two guys come out and grab you. Now you find yourself locked inside of a bedroom in a unfamiliar house. Your hands are duct taped in front of you, and your belongings have been taken away. Okay? So, do you A, look for potential weapons, or B, get out of the duct tape and set your hands free as soon as you can?
I mean, ideally, hopefully it's happening at the same time. I would like to get out of the duct tape as soon as possible, depending on there's a lot of things to consider. I'm gonna,
of course,
yeah,
that's why we put these games the way we do.
Yeah, I'm gonna say get out of the duct tape just because one, I can still kind of make it look like the duct tape is there. I mean, obviously it's going to be torn, but maybe I can hide it in some way if they do happen to come in as I'm trying to maneuver. But at the same time, I think kind of waiting around just asks for bad juju, and it's better to continue moving and trying to escape than it is to wait for something to happen.
Yeah, let's face it. You need your hands to use whatever weapon you find. So order of precedence is get free. I like your idea. Yeah, if you can make it look like you're still kind of, get free, get a weapon, hide the weapon, put your hands, and then wait for your moment, I think is a great idea. Destroying duct tape, there's destructive ways of getting out, non-destructive ways. You guys have heard me talk about it. Getting out the easiest way is you're using your body as a wedge, your wrists put out in front of you at eye level, you rocket your elbows past your ribs, and your body becomes this shearing wedge, and literally the duct tape will shear like as if scissors cut the tape. And the testing I've done with this, whether it's 3 wraps or 15 wraps of duct tape, this technique works. So once again, you put your hands are out in front of you, your thumbs are at eye level, and then you rocket those elbows past your rib cage. Your hands are going to come in nice, and they're going to basically slam against your chest, but it's going to shear that tape as if it was cut by a pair of scissors. So there you go. All right. So next, do you look for potential escape routes or weaknesses in the room, or B, try to establish rapport with your kidnappers to gain their trust? I know.
Well, yeah. So, actually, in my book, order precedence for it goes it's avoidance, escape, neutralize, and then delay and resist.
There you go.
So that's what I'm going for. Obviously, I can't avoid anymore. I'm now trying to escape. If I can't escape, I'm trying to neutralize. If I can't neutralize, I'm trying to delay and resist, meaning either a third party is going to come to my aid, or I'm always looking for that opportunity to present itself, because eventually someone's going to make a mistake. Hopefully it's not me. Hopefully it's them, and go about it that way.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get off the X as soon as possible. If you got your hands free, common sense says, now get the hell out of there. So you are going to look for weaknesses in the room, figure out escape routes, whatever you can do. You do not want to hang out any longer, because that duct tape is going to get replaced with handcuffs or chains or something worse. So get the hell out of there. Sooner the better.
You're probably going to get a little beating for it too.
That's right.
Keep you.
That's right. So you do the right thing. You look for some potential escape routes, weaknesses in the room. You search the room. You notice loose floorboards near the window. So it seems like there is a possible way out of here. So do you attempt to remove the loose floorboards and escape through the opening, or attempt to remove the loose floorboards and use them as a weapon when the kidnapper comes back?
So going back to the order of
your rules, yes, your rules.
So I'm trying to escape first, and then if I have to neutralize second, then that's what happens.
I like it. You attempt to remove the loose floorboards and escape through the opening. You remove them. And with great effort, you manage to squeeze through. Okay.
I've been working out.
You've been working out. It's good, especially if you're doing Uber Eats all the time. So you squeeze through the opening, making your way out of the bedroom. Okay. Now this is kind of a weird house. Okay. So what do you do next? You explore through the house looking for the exit, or just find a good place to hide?
I'm not hiding. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm depending. Yeah, because if it's daytime, if there's windows, there'll be light coming through. So I'm looking for light sources. If it's nighttime, I'm looking for light sources too, because wherever they are, they might have a light on. So it might be, if the door's closed, but I can see a light underneath, it might, give me indication that's where the kidnappers are. And so that's why, yeah, I'm definitely searching through the house for a way out. I definitely don't want to just stay in one spot.
That's right. As you cautiously move through the house, you come across one of the kidnappers. Uh-oh. But they haven't noticed you yet. That's good. So, do you A, try to just sneak past the kidnapper and make your way outside? Or B, go ahead and confront them and hope that you overpower and kick their ass?
I'm not confronting. I won't confront until they see me. So I'm going to try to sneak past, and if they see me, then that's when I'll combat them then.
Yes. You are correct. You decide to try and sneak past the kidnappers and make your way outside. With careful steps, you manage to slip by the kidnappers and find yourself outside the house. Do you A, run as fast as you can and get away from the house, or B, go to the neighbors, get a phone, get help? A or B?
So depending on what horror movies you've seen,
yeah.
If you've seen The Hills Have Eyes, you maybe not want to go to the neighbors.
Yes, exactly.
You can always, I'm definitely, if there's neighbors around and I can see that for sure, I'm definitely at least running in that direction. I might even wait out for a second to make sure that, hey, this isn't, the house that the kidnappers own, and what I was just in is their barn or something like, whatever it is. I'm making sure I do a nice little recon and make sure that, hey, this house is completely separate from what I just got into. But I do want to make sure that I am calling the proper authorities I want to get resources involved in the search for me, and then on my way out or my escape out.
So which one you decide? You're running as fast as you can and getting away from the house, or just going to the neighbors?
So I'm probably going to the neighbors. Okay. And let me put this in there just in case it's wrong. Yeah. I'm not going to the, I may not, if it's, I won't think this.
It's good. Yeah.
So, because what it is if this is a neighborhood, obviously, houses are pretty stacked on each other. I could pick a variety of neighbors right now. If this happens to be a secluded wooded area, which I think it is, there, depending on how many houses I see, if I only see the one, I'm going to the one. If I see more than one, then maybe I'm going to the furthest one I can reach to in time before I really start hearing them scrambling around for me and stuff like that. So that's a little into the weeds, but I am going to say I'm going to the neighbors and trying to establish some phone call to 911.
Yes. So for this particular scenario, it is run as fast as you can and get away. That's okay. For me, I'd be into the mindset that, good neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I don't know if the neighbors, I would use almost like this mount philosophy, right? Remember in mount training, you contact an urban environment, you're going to separate yourself by at least a building or two buildings, right?
Terrain feature.
Yeah. So I'd kind of almost like I'd run, get at least some distance between where you were and because those neighbors could be buddies, right?
Yeah.
So get yourself some distinct separation before you go to a neighbor's house. But like you said, if this is a rural environment, you might be running miles in the first house you see, then yeah, you're probably okay. If it's a suburban environment, I'd be like, fuck that. I'm going to get a couple of blocks away and then maybe ask for help. But either way, your philosophy works just as well. But yeah, for this particular scenario, you run as fast as you can and get away from the house, and skip the neighbors for now. After a while, you come to a gas station and you use their phone to call police. The police arrive and provide assistance. Well done. You have survived this podcast. And the importance of staying vigilant, making quick decisions to survive is obviously the goal of this scenario. So congratulations. Out of 10, you missed 1. You got a 90%, so you're still doing good since you've been a full-time student.
It's still an A.
Yeah, it's still an A. You're still, and it helps your grade point average. Are you an A student these days or what?
Actually, I am. I'm way better than I was in grade school because I take it a little bit more seriously. But yeah, I'm keeping that grade point average up just for kicks and giggles because obviously it doesn't really pertain to too much. But just for bragging rights, yeah, I do.
Yeah, well, good job. And it sounds like you've got a great book coming out. Go ahead, tell the audience the title, the website, and where they can find you on social.
Mm-hmm. So full title is Fight for Your Best Life, the step-by-step self-defense guide to personal empowerment, protecting your loved ones, and living fearless. And then, sorry, what was the second question?
And then website?
Website is mindshieldandspear.com.
Don't forget and then the best place to contact you is on John Brewer at LinkedIn.
Yeah. So find me, John. I think I do have my junior up there. So it's John Timothy Brewer Jr. I'll be, if it's a author, former Green Beret, MBA, that'd be the right one. If not, Mind Shield and Spear that has the links to those pages as well. And then if nothing else, then do a Facebook search, find me on Facebook. You can contact me through my personal profile. So,
all right.
like that,
awesome. Yeah. Well, hey, John, thanks for coming on. Thanks for your service. Thanks for what sounds like is going to be a great book to add to everyone's safety, security, survival book collection. Once it's out, we'll make sure we're pushing it for you. And to the audience, like I always say, keep it simple. Crisis will complicate the rest. And until next time, be safe out there.